All right, everybody that's joining us this evening, thank you for a little bit of patience there getting the webinar started. If you can, just sit tight. We're gonna let all the participants come on in, and then we will have our guest speaker, Michelle Lilly, join us in some great information. This is gonna be new to a lot of the people in our real estate community. So Michelle, we're gonna have some great information here, and then I will have you jump on.
Sure.
And then at that point, we can just basically hand the ball over to you, and then we'll get the ball rolling there. So if you give us one quick moment, just come on board in just a little bit.
No worries.
Thank you. All right, let's see here. All right, we've got people that are joining us right now. Thank you so much. Okay, let me make sure I got that. All right, perfect. All right, guys. Welcome this evening. For those of you that are joining us, this is one of our industry webinars that we have put together for you. It is of a little different topic that we're all normal to understanding. It's blockchain and cryptocurrency in real estate, guys. So this is a great time to ask questions. Michelle Lilly, she actually has a master's in this particular type of field, in which you'll get to know her here in just a little bit. But for those of you that are joining us tonight, feel free to chime in where you guys are from, and then we'll go ahead and continue on with our presentation here. Tonight's webinar, guys, we're now going through our introduction, and then we'll get started with our main topic here in about 1 minute. And then we have around 7:10. And guys, if this does go a little bit longer, we always encourage that you guys stick around, because this is a lot of good information. For those of you that are joining us via Zoom, which obviously this is the platform that we're using, questions, make sure all your questions are in the Q&A section. If we don't have any polls this evening, and all of the non-topic questions, send those over to your moderator in the chat box. That's Oriana Ovalles. She'll be happy to respond. And for those of you that are just wanting to leave the webinar, remember that we do post these on the StratiVentues social media page, our YouTube channel, basically StratiVentues. And if you need to leave, just go ahead and hit end. And remember, this event is for you, so make sure that you ask questions, guys. We encourage questions. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about SVI. For those of you that don't know who we are, we were established in May of 2012, and we like to say we're a full service real estate investing company that has the 4 main prongs of success, which are the acquisition analysis, real estate services, project management and contracting, and last but not least, funding, right? You can never have enough money. So we invite everybody to get to know us at any of our social media platforms, or just simply go to StratiVentues.com, and there's free one-on-ones, or send us an email, and we'd love to get to know you guys. This is our core SVI implementation team. These are the people that make the magic happen at SVI, and we really are proud to work with every single one of them. Tonight, these webinars are always put on by Oriana Ovalles. So Oriana, thank you so much for all your hard work. You've always made it a great success for ourselves and our people that join us. A little bit about myself. I'd like to get to know each one of you guys personally, so feel free to reach out. I was born in Colombia, South America, moved to the US at the age of 4, live here in Houston, and past experience was an asset manager, mortgage broker, and then I started investing in 2012. And then I founded the SVI platform that is today in 2014. Now, let's think about the past 3 years, things that have occurred. And now we're in over 27 states, over 2,300 members nationally. And again, guys, our motto has always been, it's a win-win or we don't do it. So that's the mentality of the people of SVI. One thing that I always like to tell people is first understand your mentality, your identity, and who you are. So at SVI, we always say this: a real investor, their identity is one that analyzes, acts, invests, and profits with one word in mind, and that word is risk. So with that said, guys, I always want to leave that message with you, and just know that we're risk managers. And now I will stop talking about SVI. So Ms. Michelle Lilly, if you don't mind hopping on, I'd love to talk to you a little bit here. And I also have your contact information here for people to get to know you. And then obviously in your presentation, I'm assuming you have some contact information there for them, correct?
Sure, yes.
All right. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the direction of what this is about? And then I can go ahead and hand this over to you and you can start your screen share.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me today. So just to give you people some idea about what this is about and why it's important is because cryptocurrency, blockchain, and real estate in the domain of real estate has become not only a hot topic, but definitely an area where realtors, brokers, real estate investors, title companies, cryptocurrency investors are merging and starting to understand and how to transact with blockchain and cryptocurrency. So it's not something that is like we're talking about that's going to happen. It's actually something that is happening right now. So if you are a real estate professional, if you are an investor or a real estate investor, if you are a real estate broker, in the title company space, even in the insurance space, blockchain is going to definitely, I wouldn't say interrupt, but definitely play a big part in a shift. Because, a lot of times we hear the word disrupt, but the internet disrupted, but it really shifted the way that we did things. And blockchain is going to shift the way that we do things. And that's when you hear about Web3. So we'll go from a 2D reality right now that we operate into a 3D reality with the Metaverse and so forth. And so, but more importantly, what I want to share is how blockchain is impacting real estate from a new way of doing business. It's really, I would say, the traditional way with a twist to it. And so that's what I want to share and just make the real estate community, especially investors, aware of what is happening, what's to come, and how to stay abreast and stay ahead of the curve and participate as well.
And I have to tell you, Michelle, when I met you, that's through one of our main, if not our main industry partner, Doma Title, where we do all our closings. Formerly North American. Guys, look for domatitle.com or just go to Doma Title in any of the main cities that they are in Texas. They're a great people to work with, and we really thank Deanna Mellis for putting us together here. So with that, Michelle, the floor is yours. If you want to go ahead and share.
Yes, 1 second. Okay, here we go. All righty, here we go. So I teach a class and a certification for blockchain and cryptocurrency to certify real estate professionals. And in doing so, I learned a lot through this education myself. And one of the things that I wanted to think about, so I'll talk about my background in just a moment, but for the purpose of this presentation, I want you to think about how, I don't know the age of everyone on this this conversation tonight, the Zoom tonight, but more importantly, I want to talk about from a standpoint of, think about Blockbuster. So I guess I'm maybe dating myself here, but Blockbuster at one time, I mean, I think I still owe late fees to Blockbuster, but at Blockbuster at one time was the place to go, the way to go. And that's what everybody knew in order to watch the movies that they wanted to watch. And then, of course, when we look at the taxi cab, but what happened to Blockbuster? Netflix. Well, first Redbox came in, and then Netflix came in, and now Blockbuster doesn't even exist. And simply because they did not keep up with the time. So the same thing with the taxi cab company. The taxi cab company, people thought that, you know what, no one will ever ride with a stranger that they don't know. And what happened? Uber came in. And now many of us on this call probably don't have a taxi cab app, but we do have an Uber app. When we think about the cell phone industry and beepers or pagers, like I said, I'm dating myself, but at one time, that was what was popular. There was one time when you only seen doctors or medical professionals with the cell phones. Now, if you're over 3 and you don't have a cell phone, you're behind the times. So what I'm saying is ignoring innovation can be very expensive. And so it's something that we don't want to do, if we're participating in a space and there's going to be a technology that's going to take place and is going to either enhance the way that we do business, and eventually we're going to have to catch up to it. I think it's important for us to pay attention that we want to be on the forefront of it and not on the back side of it. So note to self, pay attention. So a little bit about me and who I am and how I got in this space. So in 2004, I'm originally from Chicago. In 2004, I moved to Houston and decided to become a full-time real estate investor. So I've seen the market cycles in the space from where we had the crash in 2008 to where the market actually came back, and we've been kind of riding the wave, and even since COVID, on a high wave and kind of coming back down a little bit right now. But in 2017, I was introduced to cryptocurrency. So I bought my first Bitcoin, and I bought my first Bitcoin at $1,200. And that was the year that Bitcoin had hit almost $20,000 in December of that year. And one of the things that I couldn't understand, and no one who around me could actually explain to me, was why that happened. What is it about Bitcoin? And so I started doing research, and I started really looking into cryptocurrency and some of the other altcoins as well. And one of the things that I discovered was how fascinating the technology was, and how that it was actually going to be here to stay. And there was big corporations and institutions that were already looking into blockchain technology and how it was going to be used in so many of the different sectors that we deal with right now, and how it was going to actually impact every industry. And so I became very fascinated about it. And so I actually went and became certified in blockchain technology, flew to Greece, became certified as in Ethereum technology. And in January of 22 of this year, actually received my master's degree, became the first African-American woman in the world to hold a master's degree in blockchain and digital currency. However, in between that time of 2017 and 2020 and 2021, I was able to build a 7-figure portfolio. I was able to help others create additional assets with cryptocurrency, and profit from those as well. And so I started educating, and one of the things, so I was invited to Miami to educate for a developer that was closing some condos in cryptocurrency, and they wanted the real estate community to become more aware of the opportunity to sell real estate using cryptocurrency. And the aha moment went on one day when I was down there, and I was like, wow, this is definitely interesting. This is definitely going to be a long play, but how can you do it from an investment side? So I'm going to share some of that with you a little later in the presentation. But so not only am I educated on cryptocurrency, I'm actually a full-time investor in cryptocurrency, as well as a platform owner as well, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So that is how I got here. But what I want to talk to you about today is how that in this space, I know we hear a lot of times on the news, or we're hearing different articles, and it's like Bitcoin is going to crash and go to zero, or cryptocurrency, the metaverse. What is all of this? And one thing that I can say is that it's here to stay. And the way that you can tell that things are here to stay is you can look at what's happening in that space. And so what I wanted to wonder is, did you know that there's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage secured by Bitcoin that are out there? Fannie Mae started allowing borrowers to use crypto for their down payments. A house in Tampa, Florida, sold as an NFT earlier this year. Using crypto for a down payment aids in avoiding taxes. We'll talk about that in a moment. And on capital gains, how crypto lenders like Milo, they no longer have a wait list, but how their offerings have dwarfed over $100 million, and that they have issued over 340 in pre-approval letters. And so just to show you who Milo is, this is actually Milo here. And they're the world's first crypto mortgage that you can actually get at Milo. And some of the benefits they talk about, they allow you to borrow up to $5 million. You can finance up to 100%. There's definitely low rates, collateral accepted. You can buy a property with just cryptocurrency. And in 24 hours, you don't have to go through all of the same things that you have to go through for a traditional mortgage. So there are some benefits to it, having that. And we'll talk about that even further in the presentation. And so what I want to show you more importantly is how where blockchain and crypto meet in the world of real estate and in the domain of real estate. But the first thing I want to talk to you about that a lot of people miss, because you hear cryptocurrency and all you think about is the price of Dogecoin or the price of Bitcoin or the price of Ethereum or whatever token or coin that you have invested in. But we're really not paying attention to that all of those tokens or coins are relying on blockchain technology. And at the end of the day, that's what you're simply investing in more so than anything is blockchain technology. And so blockchain technology is a system of recording information in a way that makes it difficult or impossible to change, cheat, or hack the system. And that's simply because each block contains a number of transactions, and every time a new transaction occurs on the blockchain, a record of that transaction is added to everybody who is participating in the blockchain in that ledger. So you can't go back and change. If you change it on one computer, it's going to change it on everyone's computer. So there's transparency there. And so I would like to demonstrate to you kind of how blockchain works. When you think about how blockchain works, I want you to think about Uber. Now, blockchain for the most part, and what we're talking about as far for the purpose of this presentation, is that blockchain is decentralized. Uber, for those of you who are cryptocurrency investors, enthusiasts, or educated, I'm not saying that Uber is decentralized. So I just want to make that as a disclaimer. But I want to make it make sense when we talk about what the blockchain is, that it can relate to everyone, and I can kind of put it in layman's terms. And so I want you to think about your Uber ride. And think about Uber, the Uber drivers as the nodes, meaning that they are the computers, like the nodes are the computers that run the blockchain. The cars are the nodes that computer that run the Uber chain, if we want to say. And so what happens when you take an Uber? So you think about it, a transaction is created. There's a signal, how you go out and you're waiting for it to confirm a ride. A block that represents the transaction is created. And so then something is confirming that your ride has been accepted. It's sent to every node in the network. So remember, all the nodes, remember I talked about the nodes being the actual block, the actual cars that operate the Uber network. So a signal is sent to everyone. Someone says, hey, you know what? I'm going to pick that person up. I'll accept that ride. That's basically that transaction being validated by that car when it comes to the blockchain. Nodes then receive a reward for their proof of work. So when you think about miners, so how do miners make money? If you've ever thought about that, you say, well, they're not really mining something. No, they are receiving a reward for the proof of work. So just like the Uber driver picked you up and received a compensation for that ride, that's the same thing that happens on the blockchain as they validate a transaction. The block is then added to the existing chain. And so when you get out the Uber, that Uber ride is added to all of the Uber rides that you've taken, and all of the Uber drivers can see that. And so it can't be changed. Then the transaction is complete. So that's how a transaction happens on the blockchain, except you can see every transaction and everyone has access to see that public ledger. So there's no hiding it. So eventually, when you think about it, your deeds will be on the blockchain, that we will vote on the blockchain, because no one can go back and erase it. So it's immutable. So you can't go back and erase the block and not see the data and the information that was there. So when you think about, with fraudulent deeds and so forth, when it comes to real estate, they'll put them on the blockchain, and that will eliminate any fraud when it comes to deed recording. So what are the benefits of blockchain in real estate? So we think about tokenization of real estate assets. I'll go into a little more detail about that in just a moment. Process efficiency for the underlying industry operation. So just like the internet made the title company and the process for the title company and the process for closing more efficient, it still can stand to be used to be more efficient. The blockchain will aid in those processes, just like the internet aided in the process in the past. Reduce costs for process automation. So because of that, you won't need all the middleman in the middle, and it'll actually reduce the cost for the automation. Access to global distribution, and so it allows for everything to run on one blockchain, so you can have global distribution versus all of these siloed or fragmented ways that we operate when it comes to sharing data and information. Access to broader investor pools due to ownership fractionalization. That goes back to tokenization. We'll talk about that in a moment. Access to the secondary market opportunities as well. Data accessibility to increase transparency and inform better investment decisions, as well as portfolio management. And so, not sure if you knew or not, but a surprising large number of first-time home buyers are funding their down payment with crypto profits. And a new survey from Redfin found that 11.6% of people buying homes for the first time said that selling investments in cryptocurrency has helped them save for a down payment. So 11.6%. But one of the things that I want to highlight here, where it says it's worth noting that the data reflect generational trends. Crypto investors and first-time home investors both tend to skew young, with particularly big representation among millennials. So what I want to say about that is that typically in the past, we've always talked about the baby boomers, and that is where the wealth is and so forth. But when you think about, you know, where the wealth has shifted now to the millennials. And the millennials they do a lot and mostly everything on their phone. They're not scared of cryptocurrency. They're not scared of technology. They're not scared of blockchain technology. And so they're going to be utilizing crypto and blockchain even more often. And so you're going to get more people saying, hey, I want to buy a house with cryptocurrency. I want to sell my house, and I want to get paid in cryptocurrency. You're going to see that more often. You're going to see tokenization, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But, you know, there are some things that the shift is already happening. And this is actually an example of how it's happening. So the 2022 Investor Summit was sold out. The Crypto Real Estate Summit, the Crypto Realty Group to hold the real estate event at the Miami Bitcoin Conference. There's another event that is happening November 3rd and 4th in Miami for a conference as well when it comes to crypto and real estate. So there was just one in Austin, Texas that just happened the 23rd and the 24th of September. So whether you're participating in them or not, what I'm saying to you is that the shift is taking place. And I always say it's better to be ahead of the curve than behind the curve. And so Forbes even talks about how crypto just became real as hot as new thing. And here's what it means for buyers, sellers, and developers as well. When you look at the real estate company Proppy, they sold their first NFT-backed property in the US. That they talked about, this was Friday, but this was actually earlier this year. So how crypto is changing the real estate market, and crypto mortgages lets home buyers keep their Bitcoin, put down payment nothing. So one of the things I want to share with you is a lot of times the social media and the news, they have glorified like these crypto new millionaires and new billionaires, and that everybody in the crypto space is just trying to buy Lambos, and everybody, you know, got lucky and hit it off Dogecoin. And that's just absolutely not true. So you have crypto investors, if you think about it, a lot of them are tech people that got in first and have amassed a large wealth in cryptocurrency and in Bitcoin. So a lot of those, because they understood technology, and so they got in real early. And so now their crypto has turned into hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars. And so those are the people that mostly sit on. Now you do have a lot of people who have built portfolios and so forth over time as well, and who have amassed. So if you think about a cryptocurrency investor like a real estate investor, because a lot of times they're just different asset classes, but they're thought about the same as a real asset, not just as some type of, you know, coin that someone is, you know, just hoping to go up and down, but as a real asset that is going to continue to appreciate over time. And just like real estate, it may have its ebbs and flows, so it may have its highs and lows, but eventually because of the underlying blockchain technology under it, it will continue to increase in value. And because of this limited supply of $21 million, so it's scarce. And so that's very important. And then what a lot of people don't know about Bitcoin as well is that every 4 years, Bitcoin does a thing called a halving, halving. And so we talked about how the miners, when we looked at as the Uber drivers, they get paid for basically validating that transaction, mining that transaction. And so what happens is that, think about if there was only $21 million that was ever going to be created. And every year, $1 million was put into circulation. But every 4 years, that $1 million that was put into circulation was cut in half. Essentially, that's what happens to Bitcoin. At every 4 years, Bitcoin does a thing called a halving. And the amount of the rewards that's received for the miners is cut in half. So every 4 years, just like if the amount of money that went into circulation was cut in half, the dollar would become more valuable. Same thing with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin specifically. Every 4 years, because of the halving, there's less going out into circulation, and it's already a scarce supply. And so that is why it is set, and that's built into the technology. That's why you hear these prices about Bitcoin will one day be 500,000, $1 million, and so forth. Is simply because of that, the scarcity, the halving of it, and the fact that it's the utility of it, that we can send money anywhere in the world in seconds, and we don't have to have a third-party intermediary, and no government or central authority can shut it down. So that is why people want to hold on to their Bitcoin versus selling it. The same way an asset, a house will appreciate long term. So if you think about for this purposes or this demonstration, so say for instance that you held 4 Bitcoin, and at this time it was $32,000. I know Bitcoin is a little under 20 right now, a little under 20 today. But the value of that was $130. And so you wanted to take out a BTC backed loan, like we were talking about with Milo, or you can go to some of these platforms and actually take out a BTC backed loan. And so they give you 70% of the value. So you would 70% of 130, you will receive 100,000 in USD. So what does that mean? That means that of that, you receive 100,000 cash. You've leveraged, so you're 30,000. Now, what happens if Bitcoin goes up or down? Then they'll make you top up, and sometimes they'll make you top up, and at that 70%, depending on what their collateral, what their margin call is, you have to make sure that you stay above that in case the Bitcoin does drop. But you receive 100K in USD. What happens, what just happened in that transaction? I want you to think about it from a real estate investor, since most of you are real estate investors. You just didn't have to pay capital gains tax, because now it is a loan to you versus you cashing out your Bitcoin, and now you have to pay capital gains taxes on the profits that you received. So now you get to borrow against it, and now it's a loan, so you don't pay capital gains taxes. The other thing is, if you are a cryptocurrency investor and you are believing that Bitcoin is going to continue to appreciate over time in value, you don't want to sell it. So now you can borrow against it. And so you don't have to sell your Bitcoin. All you have to do is make sure you pay it back, pay what you've borrowed back, and you actually keep the value of that Bitcoin. So now you have $100,000 cash. They're talking of here, you can purchase in real estate as an NFT, but let's just say you didn't. Now you have $100,000 cash that you can go purchase a home cash, and you actually own the title to that home cash. And now you can leverage that with a mortgage if you wanted to either pay back the BTC, but now you've just leveraged that asset twice. You leveraged it the first time with your Bitcoin. You didn't have to go through any financial. You didn't have to show your financials. You didn't have to go through your tax returns. You didn't have to go through underwriting. On that note, if you want to borrow against your BTC, there's platforms that you can put up your collateral, and within 24 to 48 hours, you will have the USD sent and wired to your bank account. So those are some of the benefits of utilizing cryptocurrency and how a cryptocurrency investor thinks. So let's talk about tokenization. So tokenizing real estate will become a $1 trillion megatrend. $1 trillion megatrend. Tokenizing real estate assets has enormous advantages. So if you think about a REIT, because right up until now, most of the time, if you want to think about fractional ownership, you think about a REIT. However, once a property or real estate fund or financial instrument is tokenized, the real advantages come into play. Subsequent transactions are instant, nearly free of charge, and if done properly, without counterpart risk. This is an absolute game changer for the industry. And so I want to show you, you have sites like Lofty, where you can invest here for $50 into a single family. Let's go down. They haven't loaded those images yet, but here you can invest for as little as $53 here. And so it's a 6.7 cash on cash return, 17.7% is tokenized. So instead of you receiving, the token holders actually own the LLC that owns the property. So instead of you receiving your dividends, your shares in actual shares, now you would just receive them in tokens. They're backed by the actual property. So they go up, they don't go up and down with the market of Bitcoin or Ethereum. When you can sell them so you can become liquid. And that's what tokenization does. It provides liquidity in a illiquid typical scenario of real estate. So think about the blockchain. All of the transactions are recorded on the blockchain with those tokens. Now you can sell them to somebody else, sell them to their wallet. It doesn't affect everyone else who is of the token holders of the LLC. So I talked about like real life things that are happening and real things that, so this is actually my platform, and I want to go up some. So here, this is our marketplace and we're launching here. So when I say it's really happening, whether you know it or not, so we're doing a like Lofty. The difference is that you have to have at least $500 on our platform, but it's the same thing, cash on cash return, IRR. It gives the descriptions, it'll give the descriptions of the property. We're doing from $1 million condos, to different other asset classes that are coming on board as well, but $1 million condos to $200,000 rental properties that people will be able to participate in for $500 and that they normally wouldn't give access to. So now you're talking about, actually about a month ago, I was invited to Rome to talk at the Vatican, and one of the things that they were talking about that they really liked the platform was the simple fact of financial inclusion. And so on the platform, you get to look at all the assets that you would own, what your monthly earnings are as far as rent. And so you're going to get more developers, more people tokenizing their and using tokenization as a way to rather sell their property, to keep so many of their tokens. And if you want to say in a refi sense from that tokenization piece. And HSBC did a study, and HSBC, most of you know who that is, one of the largest banks in the world. And they talked about by 2027, that tokenization was going to be a $24 trillion industry. That's hyper growth when we think about it. And because a lot of real estate will be tokenized, because it's no different than when we look at Arrived Homes. If you like, Jeff Bezos has invested $37 million in a platform called Arrived Homes. And the difference though is that you have to hold for 5 to 7 years or when they sell the property. So it's still illiquid. But when it comes to tokenization, now you can sell your tokens right to someone else and you can get the liquidity that you want out of that right there, and you don't have to wait. So tokenization is definitely going to be a big play. And again, what I talked about it being the transformation of illiquid investments into tokens means that a direct investment in a property is vested with the character of an indirect investment. Issuers can as a result secure a highly liquidity, and tokenization allows a broader group of investors to invest directly into real estate that hasn't necessarily been done before. I talked about HSBC talking about the 10x potential. Of course, there's the metaverse. Now, I'm not going to go a deep dive into the metaverse right now on this call, but the digital land is huge and is going to be big. It's at its early stages right now. And so there's going to be many different metaverses. Eventually they will be interoperable. But I want you to think about the metaverse because it seems so foreign to a lot of people when we talk about the metaverse. I want you to think about the metaverse like Facebook. Every time you go onto Facebook, you're going into Facebook's metaverse. You learn how to use different things on Facebook. You learn how to use Facebook and so forth. You can create avatars on Facebook. You can, all of that. That's the 2D version. You will have the 3D version of it. And you will learn how to do that as well. And so now the difference between the metaverse, and I'm not talking about Meta because Meta is not decentralized. The metaverse is that, imagine if you owned your Facebook page and you could charge people to come to your Facebook page. Think about how many people who go Facebook Lives and so forth, and they can actually go to the Facebook and if they were charging people to come on their Facebook Lives, no different than people charge people to be in their Facebook groups. The difference is that they don't actually own that land in those Facebook groups. In the metaverse, you will have the opportunity to own your land. You will have the opportunity to lease land because it's going to be next to this person, or it's just like, there's going to be a limited supply. And it's just like, this land is more valuable than this land because of location when it comes to real estate. So it's something you definitely want to pay attention on. There's people making a lot of money investing in real estate. There's real estate. You have real estate brokerages coming up. You have loans being done on digital land. And right now, big institutions and so forth, the major money that's going into cryptocurrency in the space is in Web3, which is NFTs, because in NFT, and we'll talk about that in a moment, an NFT is the receipt or the deed that you get for your land in the metaverse. And so that's why houses and so forth can sell as NFTs. An NFT is simply a non-fungible token. So let's think about it like this. If we had $1 and we exchanged dollar for dollar, that's fungible. Real estate, because each parcel of land is unique, it is a non-fungible, what we consider, and we can turn it into a token, which is just the digital contract, the digital deed, and then we can pass it on. Why would someone want to sell their home as an NFT? Because the beautiful thing about an NFT is that you can attach royalties to it. So that means that every time that house is sold through perpetuity, the original person, the original owner of that home can actually get a royalty for that. And so that's the benefit that someone would sell their home, or why people would be intrigued and are going to eventually sell their homes as NFTs. So when we look at digital land stats, we look at the stats that the land that's worth over 100 million has sold on 4 largest metaverse sites. So I talked about that there's different metaverses, and you have the Sandbox, Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, and Simonian as are the top 4. So definitely you want to position yourself and get ahead of the digital real estate wave. And I know most of you are investors on this call, so I'm not going to go into the certification. However, I do offer a certification class that does a deeper dive into all of this and blockchain technology and even cryptocurrency. And so I hope that this has just enlightened you and given you some information, and to at least scratch your head and say, you know what, if I wasn't paying attention, I might just want to at least pay attention just a little bit. So I want to thank you definitely for your time. And Diego, if there's any questions, I'm happy to try to answer those.
Absolutely, Michelle. One thing I can definitely tell you is it is interesting, right? It is for a person that's in the world of real estate investing, coming from traditional avenues of how would I say, of looking at how this is being processed. Is a completely different language to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is one thing I tell people, especially when they're embarking in the world of real estate investing, is that real estate investing is a language. And now that you have another avenue of business, which is this, you got to get yourself, you got to speak the language, right? I'll be the first person to tell you this, and a lot of our members, you know, if you go to Mexico one time a year to Cancun, the only Spanish you learn is dos cervezas por favor, which is, you know, 2 beers, please. You shouldn't treat real estate this way, right? So you should always
Right.
immerse yourself with this. So everybody feel free, put in your questions. Michelle's eager here to answer these for us. This webinar is going to be posted on our YouTube channel at StratiVentues for YouTube. And then, so let's go ahead and fire away here. We had one person submit this question, and I'll start off by this.
Okay.
They stated, give me 1 second here. Let's see here. Okay. It says current state of blockchain or crypto regulations and what agencies might have jurisdiction, question mark. SEC, Treasury, or state themselves. What are we talking about regulation here?
So when it comes to regulations, everyone's waiting to see what type of cryptocurrency regulations are going to be put out there. We know that regulations are going to come. I tell people in the cryptocurrency space that at one time, a lot of them didn't want regulation. I'm like, no, you need regulation. And regulation is not necessarily a bad thing. We don't want to be over-regulated, but we definitely want to have some type of guidance, so it's not the wild, wild west for everyone. So different states have put out their regulation. Texas, just to say for those of you who are here, and I know that we're all across, but Texas is we call it crypto friendly. Wyoming is a crypto friendly state. Of course, Florida is definitely a crypto friendly state. I think Illinois is a crypto friendly state. New York is a little tough. So you'll have state regulations that come out. So you definitely have to pay attention to what's happening in your state. On a federal side, the SEC has been the one that has been more so looking to regulate, and of course the feds, because they want to look at it, whether it's currency, depending on whether they're considering it currency or whether they're considering it a security. And that's what we have to be mindful of, whether it's currency or whether it's security. So like with tokenization, you're dealing with a security, and you have to be mindful that you are dealing with the security and you have to handle it as such. So there's different regulation. There's no cut, clear and dry that the feds have put out yet. Now they do take, let me say this though, you can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. And
oh, that's the IRS.
You know, so they take it.
Yeah.
So that's always what I say when people say a hint, hint, wink, wink, that if they're accepting it, there's a reason that they're accepting it. But there's no clear cut. There's some regulation that has come out, but nothing that has come out that everyone's waiting to really see what is going to happen with it. However, what I do know for sure is that it's not going anywhere. It's just a matter of how it's going to be regulated, how the banks are going. Because remember, so the banks are like big ships, big cruise ships. And it takes them a long time to turn for a moment. Mm-hmm. And so what you have is right now, the banks, the feds, SEC, they're all trying to come together to see how do they participate. And so it hasn't and because cryptocurrency hasn't went mainstream yet, although we hear about it enough, it's still not mainstream. You know, not everyone owns cryptocurrency, not even 30% of the 20% of the, maybe 24% now, I think it is, of the world owns cryptocurrency, but it's not mainstream yet at all. Now, when it does go mainstream, that's when you're going to see the prices just go crazy.
Yeah, adaptation.
Yeah. And a lot of people are waiting for regulation to come out before they actually, you know, jump into it. Bitcoin is, you know, it's hard because of the technology. It's definitely not a security. They're just trying to see how to regulate it possibly as a currency.
Okay. Well, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. One question here asked by Mary Settles and I don't know this company here. With Celsius recently
Yes.
filing bankruptcy, how do you do your due diligence on platforms that are offering real estate real estate in crypto?
Um, what do you mean real estate? Can she clarify real estate in crypto?
But I guess basically with a company like Celsius
Mm-hmm.
recently filed bankruptcy, and it
Right.
seems that one of the platforms they had was offering real estate using crypto, and they went belly up. So how does a person protect themselves finding an exchange or something like that that's
So when it
going to be
comes to,
lasting?
oh, okay, and when it comes to an exchange, so I would say you want to look at ones that definitely have filed, definitely are in compliance. So when you think about like FTX, they have their name on the arena, Miami arena. And the likelihood of them going out of business is probably not likely, just because of what they have backing them. When you have people like crypto.com. Now, again, we've seen big companies and that's traditional big companies, nothing to do with crypto, go down that you were surprised about. So you definitely have to, be mindful. That gets into another, I'm just going to drop this though, that gets into another one, is that a lot of times when you do purchase your cryptocurrency and so forth, you may want to make sure you always pull them into your cold storage offline, so you don't have to depend on whether they go down or not.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering that. What is a good source for those unfamiliar with crypto and blockchain to gain knowledge / education in this space? We're
So
talking, is there a layman's term? You know how they have accounting for dummies? Like that would be my arena here. What does
yeah,
that mean?
so I know this is going to sound funny, but YouTube. Now, here's how you vet you the or start with YouTube. So you want to say, for instance, if you have, like, if you want to know real estate and cryptocurrency, and put that in, and you find someone. So you do have to vet them, because again, we are talking about YouTubers here, and so you want to definitely avoid the hype.
Yeah.
And so, but you can kind of tell by the type of information, whether that they're giving out and so forth, whether the sense of if they're just hyping it up or if they're really talking about something serious. And so in the way that they educate. So that's, but that's where I would start at.
All right, let's hear. Somebody asked, can we have a link to your platform, or what's the best way to get a hold of you?
They put my up here at michelle@michellelilly.com. I'm sorry, that should be IamMichelleLilly.com.
Okay. So
Michelle,
is it IamMichelleLilly.com?
yes, it should be Michelle@IamMichelleLilly.com. It would be the best way.
Okay, perfect. Another question here was, for tokenization, when purchasing real estate, is there a governing body that qualifies the asset being invested in?
So like, for instance, when I talked about the SEC, so like on our platform, every property is registered with the SEC. So
Okay.
yeah, you want to make sure that whatever platform you use, that they are registering properly.
Got it. And Shamaya Lane, if you go ahead and contact her, she'll be able to give you all the other platforms I think that you were requesting here. Let's see here. She asked, when is it going to launch officially?
November 4th.
Okay, great. Thanks, Virginia, for asking that question. Stacy Ford asked, when can I have a one-on-one with you?
If you email me, and again, that's Michelle@IamMichelleLilly.com. If you email me, then I can follow up with you and we can schedule a one-on-one.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's see, other question there. Ashley asked, what is the best way to buy early in the metaverse real estate space?
The best way is that when the market goes down, to purchase. And you can research, like, for instance, I've given the 4: Sandbox, Decentraland, Simonium, and I forget the other, Vortex on the slide, but you can go to those and you can just research those, like who's purchased in there, big names, like you have Louis Vuitton, Papa John's, and research which ones, and then you can know from there, but it would be best to buy when the market is low.
Okay, perfect. And let's see here. So utilizing the tokens is familiar to owning shares in a property?
Yes.
All right, quick, easy answer there.
Yeah, it's a digital contract, that's all.
And Stacy Ford asked, do you offer certifications to realtors and brokers, or do they need to go through property?
I offer certifications to realtors and brokers.
Excellent, excellent. So ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have any other questions, please feel free. Somebody asked the slides being shared. Michelle, you're going to be getting the attendee and registration list. Oriana's going to send that over to you, so that's up to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. So Virginia Fulton, she's one of our really sweethearts here at SBI, said this has been phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody's coming in there with thank you with the webinar, guys. This is her contact information. And remember, it's Michelle at IamMichelleLilly.com. Yep. And want to also say thank you here to a lot of the sponsors that we have and some of the partners at SVI who also partake in a lot of the webinars, guys. Remember, SVI has a lot of great partnerships and affiliates. And then if you want to have a one-on-one with us, just visit us at StratiVentues.com and ask us about our basics. Now, for those of you that are realtors in the Houston area, tomorrow at Quest Trust, we have our Realtor Advantage training from 10 to 1 p.m. It is completely free, guys. Join us. It's at Quest Trust, which is 17171 Park Row in Houston, Texas. Feel free to come on down there. Michelle, if you're in Houston, come by, visit. You'll get to meet some realtors there, obviously share your experiences and get to know them. It's from 10 to 1, and ask us about this amazing basics program that we have. And then last but not least, Oriana is always telling me to do this. Oops, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And so thanks for joining us. We're on every social media platform from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. This is going to be posted on our YouTube channel, and we definitely look forward to hearing from you guys. And if there are any other topics that you guys outside of the normal real estate arena, send them over to us. We'll do our best to bring you some of the best people to talk about that. And so, Michelle, any closing comments that you want to have for this evening?
Just, pay attention to what's happening in the space. It will become more and more mainstream, and it will be some unique opportunities to get ahead of the curve. So definitely, don't be afraid. Walk into it.
I love it. I love it. Michelle, hope to see you soon. Thank you so much, everybody that's joining us. Have a good evening, everybody. And remember, every 2 weeks, we've got ourselves a webinar here. Thanks.